Today we're going to talk about one of the main reasons why your toss doesn't seem to be in the same spot every time you serve. So now let's take a look at the tossing motion. In general, we obviously all know we're supposed to keep our arms straight, and if you don't know that, we're going to link a video up here that shows you guys how to do the toss properly. Now, how come you still manage to toss the ball all over the place? Too far to the right, too far to the left, too far in front, too far back? Well, the main reason for that is that you are okay with having a bad toss. And now let me explain what I mean by that. Obviously, nobody likes a bad toss, but you and most players out there are probably chasing your toss on your serves. So what I mean by that is you take a toss, it's not perfect, and you hit anyway. So that means that you're adjusting your movement, your motion, according to the ball. However, in order to get a good toss, you have to raise your standards a bit. You should not serve unless you have a good toss. So how can we make sure that we can still learn to toss properly and not just let the ball drop 10 times in a row? Well, the easiest way for that is to toss later. So what we want is we don't want to toss right in the beginning of our motion when our racket moves up. Because if we do that, we're under time pressure. Aside from that, we're not in a position where our body is set up yet. So we're tossing the ball before we set up and get into the trophy position completely. That means it leaves us room to change our trophy position and change our position in our body. So for example, if I toss it early and it goes too far over to the right, I will tend to move towards the ball a little bit. And then I'm going to try to swing. So now I adjusted all the angles in my body because I almost took a step, but I for sure moved my weight over to the right a little bit more. But I also made sure that now I have to swing in a different angle. So that means I require a different shoulder rotation than what I had planned originally when I picked my target on the court. So instead, we want to toss the ball after or while we're setting up our body. So for me, for example, I start to push my hips across the line, and when I feel my hips coming towards my arm here, that's when I start my tossing motion. This forces me to work with the position that I put my body in already. So that means if a toss now is not in the right spot, I simply can't serve. The ball, I won't be able to reach the ball. So I am forced now, I have a necessity in my brain and in my body to create a toss that works along with my body's movement, rather than creating a movement that works along with a toss. So now we force the toss to be good for us to swing. That's a completely different mindset that will help you to set up more consistently the same exact way, and then when you're set up, the toss happens and you can place the ball right in the perfect spot. And if you don't do it, well, now your body learned that you can't swing whenever the toss is not in the right spot. If, on the other hand, you hit anyway and you toss early and you're following the ball, you're chasing the ball, you end up following the ball every time, adjusting your movement, and then imagine you put the ball in, you even feel accomplished about it because you're like, wow, I really dealt with that difficult toss. But the reality is you used worse technique, you didn't have your weight transfer down, your weight distribution was wrong, and in the end, you're more likely to get injured. So try to make your toss depend on your body's movement rather than the other way around. Now, I understand it's not going to be easy for you to make that change of tossing way later because it feels uncomfortable. But the reality is that in most cases, if you're preparing here, it has nothing to do with the tossing arm. You just created that rhythm for yourself. So you can just as simply recreate a different rhythm that makes it much easier for you to have a more repeatable serve that's going to be more consistent and more accurate. So here's an example of how I'm tossing first while I'm preparing, and then I have to chase the ball. Okay, one more time, same thing. Very difficult to serve like that. And now if I toss later, the whole thing looks much calmer, just like this. Preparation, toss, serve. Much, much simpler to execute once you get used to it, and it will be much easier for you to hit your targets on a consistent basis.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.